Good to have everybody back here. Glad we're doing one here this week. That's a good thing. It's an exciting week for us, coming off a really pretty epic win up in Morgantown. So proud of the group for finding a way to get that one done. It was a challenging night, challenging football team, great atmosphere, everything I think that you would expect a game like that to be like, and two powerhouse teams going at it. So it was a lot of fun, tremendous win, and to have ourselves back here, where we thought we'd be all along, back here in the Big 12 championship game, going in as the top seed from this conference, and what I think has been another very good year for this conference is very meaningful to us, and certainly excited to get down to Arlington and play this one. It's been a fun year. There's been a lot of ups and downs, mostly ups, and for this team to, after having a loss there right before the bye week, and for this team to fight, scratch, and claw its way back to, where we feel like we should be is a great feeling, and to have all of our goals still right there in front of us. So it's obviously going to be a fun game, big-time game. Anytime a championship's riding on it, regardless of who you're playing, it's going to be important. And I know a lot will get made on the outside about the rivalry, the fact that it is OU and Texas, but I think still the fact that this is a championship game and all that's riding on it, overshadows that, in my opinion. I don't take it lightly. I get the historical significance behind it, the fact that, OU and Texas haven't played each other for twice in a season for a very, very long time. But I think the bigger storyline to me is it's been a great year for the conference. This is a championship game between the best two teams in this conference, like it should be, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to get down there and play.
Lincoln, West Virginia got flagged for throwing horns down a couple of weeks ago. Have you talked to your team about that and gotten clarification for the Big 12 or whether that would be a penalty or not this weekend?
Yeah, we're working on some clarification, but our guys I will make sure it is fully clear to our guys what they can and can't do.
What's your thoughts about, there's a national narrative about playoffs that defensive teams, if you're not real good defensive, they think you should be penalized, and they don't say anything about offensive, if you're bad offensively. What's your thoughts about that?
Just win. We've been into it the last 3 years, and I think what we can control right now is winning. And I think if we're able to find a way to do that, and I think we'll be right where we want to be. So the thing about the playoffs that comes down to me is teams have different formulas for winning games. Everybody wants to be great on offense and great on defense both. That's everybody's aspiration. It doesn't always happen that way. It's not easy to do, and so different teams win different ways. But to me, the bottom line is you either win or you don't win. And so we started talking about this. People started bringing up playoffs and all that business 6 weeks ago, and just said, look, just if you keep winning, you'll be in good shape. And so my answer. We have kept winning, I think, and we've kept ourselves, that certainly being an option. But right now, I think we win, and the rest is going to take care of itself.
Lincoln, Caleb Kelly made probably the play of the year defensively with this one-man show with the running over the tackle and everything else. I know you guys talked about moving him inside, and he's had kind of a unique year with the red shirt possibility, things like that. After watching that game, have you thought about the impact maybe that he would have remaining at the SAM and playing there and doing those kind of things?
Yeah, he's done a great job. I mean, he has had an interesting year, but proud of how he's, in some ways battled back. You take a guy like him that had been a good player for us here the last few years, and we move him inside, probably move him in there thinking chances are he's going to start. He's got to earn it just like everybody else. And then and then Bolton wins that job, and Bolton's been just outstanding for us this year. And so, a lot of guys might have packed it in. A lot of guys might have, not handled that as well as Caleb has. But he's, he fought back, was able to contribute for us. And then, after we made the change there mid-season, one of the plans was to try to get him on the field more. And, he's been a team player. He's played explosive for us. I see that group, playing those three guys. We continue to get more and more confidence on the field. Those guys kind of getting more in sync together. I thought they all three played pretty darn well the other night. So they're, but Caleb was awesome. I mean, without a doubt, he's made some game-changing plays. He's got experience, and I think he's just now kind of getting back settled in and comfortable back outside.
Lincoln, you just point a reference to the midseason change on defense that you made after this game in October. Could you assess how things have gone in your mind on that side of the ball since the move that you made?
Yeah, I mean, we're 6-0 since it, and that's the one that matters the most to me. There's obviously been some games where we've played really well. We've had some games where we haven't played well at times. We've made enough big plays, especially the other night in key plays, to get it done. So I know that'll be a big talk with who we're playing and the fact that we made a change after we played these guys the first time. I get that. I think we're progressing in a lot of ways, but we got to put it all together. I think you kind of look at us. We played so poorly defending the pass against Oklahoma State. I mean, all the way around. And then we were much better against Kansas. And our tackling and the job we did in the run game against them was not where we needed it to be. And then I really felt like the other night, other than about 2 plays, we did a pretty nice job in the run game against those guys, and our corners were outstanding. We did not play well at the safety position, and that we gave up the majority of our long plays were through those guys. And I mean, give West Virginia credit; they make big plays. I mean, other than Iowa State, nobody else had a prayer of stopping them all year either. So we were playing a pretty darn good group at their place on their senior night. That was part of it too. But I think for us, it's got to be putting it all together. We've had stretches where we've defended the run well, stretches where we've defended the pass well. We made some just incredibly important and explosive plays in that West Virginia game the other night. So, we want to put it all together, and we feel like in our building that we're close to doing that.
John, Tom Herman said on the Big 12 conference call today that he basically confirmed the report that he's going to have David Beatty in town to help him break down what they do and what you guys do. Mm-hmm. Curious if you have any countermeasures from the Kansas staff specifically.
Coach Beatty can do what he wants to do. I mean, I don't like the precedent of it of being able to bring in somebody from a league in the same year. I don't think that's good for the conference, but it's not against the rules, and if they want to do it, that's fine.
Garrett coming in to help you guys?
Well, no comment.
Barry?
Yeah, Sam Mellinger has been really effective for them. And what makes him such a good quarterback? Particularly, you guys had trouble. Everybody's had trouble tackling the guy and keeping the guy contained.
Yeah, he gives you trouble at both, just because he's a very effective runner. He's not a flashy runner, but he's very effective. He's smart, kind of knows where to run, and I mean it's not like tackling a normal quarterback. I mean he's a big kid, he's 235 pounds. Runs physical, so he challenges you there. And then I think he's really improved throwing the ball this year. I mean you can see those guys have clearly done a nice job with him. He's got some confidence in those receivers. They've made a lot of big plays in the passing game. So I think he was a good runner last year too. I think the passing game for him has really come along. It's made him a little bit more of a dual threat as far as, threatening you both ways. And he's done a nice job leading their group.
He was he hurt his shoulder, I think, against Baylor. It's just been fighting that the last 4 or 5 games. Can you tell a change in his throwing in recent weeks because of that shoulder?
Oh, not a ton on film. I'm sure there's, it's hard to injure that shoulder and be the most effective thrower that you want to be. I know that. And that is one of the negatives you get into when you run your quarterback a lot, is even a big guy like him, you're going to be more susceptible to injuries like that. But no, I mean, the guy on film's still been very effective. I mean, he's battled through it, and then they got a capable backup. When Bichelle's had to go in, he's done a nice job. He's obviously very experienced as well, so they got a good 1-2 punch there.
Tyler?
Mark, your guys' offense has produced even while Marquise was sort of not totally healthy, but with him, sure looked like he's 100% now. How does that make the offense more effective when he's able to just get downfield faster and just be his old self?
Yeah, it's helped. It's because really it's the first time probably since the Baylor game that he's been healthy. He got a little nicked up. I guess who would play after Baylor? I guess it was Texas. He got a little bit nicked up in practice that week. Wasn't full speed in the Texas game, got a little bit better through the bye, and then got nicked up in the TCU game. So it's kind of been he hadn't been 100% in a while. So it was I thought he was as fast and as explosive the other night since he's been since Baylor. So no, he's tough to handle out there. I mean, one-on-one, he's a tough matchup. No matter how good you are on the perimeter, he's making plays. And then, like I said, I've been really proud of how he's progressed as a runner. You know, I mean he's always made plays down the field for us. But you know, coming out of that tackle like he did on the sideline there the other night on the crossing route, he did the same thing here against Oklahoma State a few weeks ago. I mean, those have been. When a guy can make plays down the field but also turn those short ones into big ones like that, it makes him that much more dangerous.
Lincoln, Kyler's made big plays in timely moments for you guys all year. I asked him a little bit ago if he feels any different in the fourth down play there in Morgantown. Does he feel any different? He said he feels the same whenever he runs out on the field. But that ability to make those type of plays, how do you encapsulate how a guy gets that? Where does that well come from for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes from a lot of things. I think it comes from self-belief. And I think some of that is natural. I think some guys are born with that. And then some of that also comes through your preparation, your work, your confidence in your scheme, your teammates, all those things. And I think he has that. Yeah, but his pulse, you know, through games stays pretty steady. I mean, just the back and forth that we have during the game is not much different than it is in a meeting room or on a practice field. I mean, he's kind of got that ability that regardless of the moment to be able to kind of stay in it, and I think that served him well through his career. I think it's, you know, probably a big reason why he had some of the success he had in high school, especially at a young age. And here, I know it's later in his career, but in a way it's also early in his career here too, and to be able to perform like he has on the different stages, I think is a great example.
Can I follow up on that? Because his personality is so different, at least outwardly, than Baker's.
Sure.
Did it take some adjusting to have a guy that maybe is more of an even plane as opposed to, you know, that high RPM that Baker has?
Yeah, it did, but it wasn't difficult because, I mean, other than the majority of the games that he didn't play in, you know, we'd been still working together for the last 2 years. So I kind of, you know, I felt like I had a decent idea of how, you know, best to handle him and to manage him. And so it was, it's definitely different, but not new, I guess, if that makes sense.
Did you come out of the Texas game defensively with any ideas looking back at how you defended Texas' two big advantages in that game? It seemed like the quarterback run game and their ability to get the ball to those big receivers.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, after every game we play, that's always the first thing we do when we get back in is, you know, we get back, we watch it. Whether you win, whether you lose, whether you felt like you played great or felt like you played terrible, you've always got to look back and see, you know, if I had this to do over again, what would we do? So no doubt all three sides of the ball, we've looked at that, and very similar to the way we did TCU last year.
Yeah, you know, early in the season, Kennedy Brooks was getting a few carries here, a few carries there. Now he's got over 20 carries the last two games. What's impressed you most about him as he's emerged as a guy that you hand the ball to as much as you have?
Yeah, a lot like Rodney last year, right? You know, it's a lot of parallels. Yeah, kind of like the question before about Kyler. I mean, the moments have never been too big for him. I mean, he's always been a good enough player, and he's just one of those guys that's taking advantage of opportunities. I think has a lot of self-belief as well. You know, running behind our offensive line certainly doesn't hurt that, and he's made a lot of big plays, and so he's been awesome. I mean, he is just such a natural runner. I mean, it's just the things that guy sees. I can't sit up here and describe it to you because it wouldn't make sense, but I mean, he sees the game differently than most backs do, and then has some nice physical skills to go along with it. So it's a good combination and a big reason why he's been so productive.
Eric? When your safety, he's kind of like Buki, when he just has such a rough game, what do you do to help him keep his head up, especially playing another bigger game this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process. Those guys, they were disappointed in the way they played, you know, but that's when you're playing like we were out there a majority of the time with two true freshmen, you know, I mean, you're going to have that some. And so you got to keep battling. Those guys are all going to be really good players. There's no doubt about that. They're going to have there are ups and downs. I mean, most of the great players that have ever done it, you know, have had that, especially when they've been forced into action that early. I mean, look how many, use Baker's example, look how many interceptions he threw as a true freshman at Texas Tech. I mean, you're going to have your ups and downs, and you just got to keep fighting through it and keep just kind of that daily process of getting better, keep your self-belief and your confidence up and continue to go to work. And that's what our guys are doing. Our teams had to do that too, you know, so I think our team has been a good example for those young guys.
George?
Lincoln, I think people probably think you guys have, if not the best, one of the very best offenses in the country. Obviously, I'm not breaking any news there. Is it possible that you have maybe one of the best running game in the country? I wonder if you think that, and if you think it's overshadowed by the pass game.
Well, I mean, they complement each other, you know, and that's when you're playing the way you want, that's the beautiful thing about it, is they go hand in hand with each other, and the run game wouldn't be nearly as good without the throw game, and then vice versa. And so I like our run game a lot. I hadn't seen everybody else out there, so I know there's other people that are very effective running the ball, but I wouldn't trade ours for anybody else's, no. With our combination of scheme, the offensive line, and the backs that we have, I wouldn't trade with anybody.
Jay?
Yeah, you guys did a Bo Jackson photo to kind of promote Kyler for the Heisman. You know, Bo obviously played NFL and Major League Baseball. Kyler's been so incredible this year. Do you feel like he's somebody that could do that if at some point that opportunity came up? And it's almost crazy to think that this could be it for him playing football, yet he's easily one of the two best players in the country.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting question. You know, what he and his family decide to do. It's I don't want to put it past him. I mean, a lot of people would say you can't do what he's done right now, you know, with how well he performed for our baseball group here this spring and how well he's played here for us. So there's certainly some different dynamics with it. And obviously, you know, the fact that he would want to play quarterback if he chooses the football route's a little bit different than Dion or Bo or some of those guys. But he athletically is so gifted and can transition between the two. You know, conventional wisdom would think, like in spring, that he would have a hard time going from throwing a baseball to throwing a football. And I mean, he's not throwing it any better now than he did in spring during the middle of baseball season. I mean, he can athletically transition between the two. So then it comes down to physically holding up, and then the mental side of it. Because you know, those games get more mental the more that you move up. And I don't know. It's a unique schedule with playing 160 something baseball games, and as long as the NFL season is now. But maybe.
Could you see him getting drafted by an NFL team as well next year?
Oh, he could. Oh, he would absolutely get drafted by an NFL team. You know, if that's his choosing. Absolutely.
I'm just saying, even if he goes on with baseball, an NFL team might say, we're just going to take you anyway, just in case.
Oh, I think they definitely would.
You said you thought your corners played really well, and that's always a big issue, playing big receivers. And
yep.
you got the same corners as the one before, and I think there was a play late that helped them get the field goal to win the game.
Yep.
What are they doing, or what did they do Saturday that they have to take into this weekend's game that they didn't do earlier this season?
Yeah, we won the contested balls. I mean, we won more than our fair share in that game the other night against a great receiving core and an elite quarterback. I mean, easily one of the top, you know, probably 3 guys in the country right now. And so, yeah, they've improved. I mean, no doubt about it. Norwood, Brown, and Motley all playing really well. Motley's really played well about 3 weeks in a row now. You know, has had a really close to 4 weeks in a row. Has really played well. I thought Norwood played probably the best game that he's played for us the other night, maybe in his career. You know, I think those guys kind of found something a little bit, and then Brown, you know, made some outstanding plays as well. So they're, you know, we know we're going to get challenged again. We know Texas, you know, has a really nice receiving core, great size. You know, we didn't win enough of those 50-50 balls, you know, in this game. A few weeks back, a couple that we were in good position that we simply needed better technique as far as getting our head around to maybe not get flagged for interference. And so we're going to have to do a great job, because you know those plays are going to happen throughout the game, and but confident our guys are going to make them.
Yeah, Lincoln, if you guys beat Texas and everything else goes as expected, the committee's basically going to have to pick between you and Ohio State with very similar resumes and very similar teams. And do you understand how difficult that decision is, and what would you say to the committee in defense of Oklahoma's case?
Oh, right now I would ask them if they understand how difficult it is to beat Texas, because that's all I'm worried about. So, I mean, that's all. I get it. I get it's going to be a conversation. It was the same thing last year. I mean, we knew, that we had to win this game, and most years, most teams are going to have to win their conference, to get into the playoffs. So that's, I know that's not a surprise to anybody, but I want my team's focus right there, and if I'm going to do that, then I've got to make sure mine's there as well.
You mentioned the true freshman playing at safety, and immediately you think about I think there were 3 safeties out. You're missing some guys. How are you going into this game? What are you expecting? Because it looks like the status of injured key players is really important.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I don't think that we had anything the other night that would keep somebody that played in that game from playing in this game this week. But at the same time, I don't expect to have anybody back that wasn't available against West Virginia.
You talked about Motley playing really well for the last 3 or 4 games. What has been kind of the difference in him elevating this game to another level?
Yeah, I think kind of just went back to the basics. He started around here for a long time, made a lot of big plays around here, and then when we moved him back to second string, he didn't pout about it. He continued to fight, worked even harder in practice. I think it kind of relit that fire under him a little bit, which has always been important to him as a player. He's always played his best when he's been on edge like that, and so he's made the most of his opportunities since then, and given us more confidence to continue to put him on the field, and he's rewarded that with really, really outstanding play. So I think he's got a lot of confidence, and it's behind the work that he's put in and the way he's approaching the entire situation right now.
In the first game against Texas, they were able to turn you over a couple of times, but you were able to move the ball on them. Now that several games down the road, what are you seeing out of their defense, and have they changed anything at all? Are they doing anything different?
Well, they're playing well. I mean, they've held down a lot of people. I've said a lot. I think Todd Orlando does a tremendous job, without a doubt. They've got really good players, like Texas always has. They got really good players that do a nice job. Got a good scheme that complements them. So no, they've played well since then. They're a challenge. They were a challenge several weeks back. They'll be a challenge again here on Saturday.
In regard to your question or your answer about the staying focused on one game at a time, you've been here before. You've been on the cusp of the Big 12 championship. You've been on the cusp of getting in the playoff as well, and you were able to do it last year. Now, so I think we all buy what you're saying, that you have to focus on Texas. You can't worry about that. How do you get your guys, what measures do you take to convince your guys that what you're saying is 100% true, that they cannot think about the playoff yet?
Well, because that's been the message. That's been the message since the bye week. That hasn't changed. I mean, for us, certainly we want to be in the playoff. I mean, no doubt about it. We've wanted to be in the playoff all year. And after you lose one around midseason like we did, I mean, every game is do or die that way. And if you don't focus on any one singular game and you don't win that game, then the playoff dream's over. And so there's really no new feeling about that. This game is no different than those, other than this one also has a Big 12 championship tied around it. And so that's the only thing different about this one. But we've continued to improve as a team. We've continued to find ways to win by this approach, and we're certainly not going to change it now.
Barry, you since you got here, you had Samaje and Joe and Rodney and then even Trey, but just basically freakish athletes at running back. You look at him and that guy's different. Is it? You mentioned the way that Kennedy sees football. Has that been kind of interesting to you? Just that it's a different type of body style. I mean, he's still strong, I know, and runs through tackles, but just
he's just a different type of guy.
He is. No, he's definitely different than what we've had there. At this point in his career, there's not the eye-popping physical characteristics. They're good, and as he goes through his career, one of the fun things will be to watch with him is his ceiling physically is so much higher than where he's at right now. And so you think down the line that if he can stay healthy, if he continues to work hard, he could really, be something special. But he's, it has been fun to watch and kind of see our O-line adapt to him adapt to our O-line. Trying to find ways to use him best, ways that he's the most comfortable. It has been, but it's kind of, you look at all those guys, they're all different, but they've all found a way to be effective, and I know it's something we're proud of.
And how much just having him now and having Trey, you were kind of still searching after, Rodney went down the first time you guys played Texas, and I know you got a lot of six-man fronts and things like that, but you feel like you're that's an advantage that you maybe have over the last time you guys played?
I think it's easily fair to say that our running back situation right now is quite a bit further along than where we were at that point, certainly.
Yeah, Lincoln, the last 3 or 4 years in this game, Texas has just played cleaner. The turnovers have favored them, the penalties have favored them. Does that give you any kind of pause coming into Saturday? And how much of an emphasis does that become? I mean, mentality is important every week, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's these two teams getting together, with the stakes being what they are, given the way it's broken the last 3 or 4 years, does that lead you to maybe make that a bigger point of emphasis?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important just because you're playing a good team. I mean, there's things that have went back and forth in this game the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I think it's 2-2 over the last 4 years. So, I mean, there's things that have went good and bad for both teams. That's a little bit the nature of this rivalry. But certainly playing a good football team, you got to avoid those mistakes that give them big momentum and those self-inflicted wounds. I mean, without a doubt, we got to do a great job of that. We got to do a better job in this game than we did a few weeks ago, certainly.
Tyler?
Lincoln, should this game, it's going to maybe move at some point, should it always stay at the Cotton Bowl?
Talking about this game or the
OU Texas?
The Red River game?
Yes, the regular season game, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I go back and forth. I do think it would be really cool at some point to play Texas in here. I think it would be really cool at some point for OU to go to Austin and play, but I don't know how you take it out of the Cotton Bowl. I don't know how you do it. You obviously can't have it both ways. So that game's too historic. That venue's too historic. Would it be awesome playing, home and home with it? Of course, but you can't take it out of the Cotton Bowl. I don't think.
What's your thoughts about Cliff Kingsbury getting fired, and have you talked to him?
It's tough. You know what I mean? He did has done a lot for that program, both as a player and coach. Program's still very meaningful to me. Great friend. Very few people in the business I respect like I do him, and I hate it for him. But if whatever he chooses to do, he'll be out of work for about 5 minutes probably. So he's that good of a coach. So he'll land on his feet in a great situation. Somebody will be really lucky to get him.
Yeah, we talked about the debates amongst one-loss teams, but you guys have a unique opportunity to play the team that you lost to. If you get this win, should the fact that you would have beaten the team that you lost to before bear extra consideration to the committee?
If we win this game on Saturday, then I'll talk to you about it about 3 o'clock.
In Lincoln, it's almost unprecedented for a team to lose a Heisman Trophy quarterback, #1 overall pick, and be even better, at least statistically, offensively, lead the country the next year. Why has it clicked the way it has for you guys this season?
I think there's a good culture, offensively. Started a few years back that guys have been able to carry on. We've been very strong up front again, which is certainly the key to the whole thing. The guys have stepped up. The receivers were more experienced coming into this year. We needed them to play better, and they have. They've grown. Backs have stepped up. We thought we were a little more experienced coming in there and lost our 2 most experienced guys to season-ending injuries, but other guys have continued to step up. And then obviously Kyler's played at a really high level. So, guys have stepped up with their opportunities, and it's been fun to watch that group progress and just see how much better we are than we were in the first half of the season. Right now, you know, we've come a long way and still can get a lot better too, which is fun.
Last question, Barry. Yeah, regarding that, do you have a third guy in line for next year's Heisman?
We'll see.
You're setting a standard that's difficult to match.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness,
Yeah.
your corners, you don't play a lot of physical stuff, bumping guys at the line. Point is that just the nature of your corners? They're not very big. They're more fast guys. Is that something you'd like to do? You need to do more of? How do you see that?
Well, I think a good mix is always part of it. But yeah, you've got to ask yourself, does that fit what you have physically, and then schematically, does that fit what you want to do? You love those big 6'2" corners that can go, you know, press guys on the line, not let them off the line. The negative to that is if you let them off the line or don't do a good job of it, instead of being in a guy's hip pocket, the guy's 5 yards behind you. So it's kind of like blitzing a lot. There's some give and take. You know, the best answer is probably somewhere in the middle where you've got the ability to do both, but certainly something as we continue to recruit and as our current guys continue to develop, we'd like to be able to do more.
Thank you, Coach.